Hi and welcome back to another card making video, and today I'm going to show you how you can create spectacular trifold cards with the dies that you have. To demonstrate the techniques I will be using dies from the latest release by Waffle Flower, and I'm going to show you a couple of ideas that work with any dies. For my first card I will be playing with this crab die, which I find super adorable, but first let me show you what is the mechanism and how easy it is to put it together. So for a trifold card, all you need to do is to just stick two cards together like so. Super simple, and then all you do is play with your dies to create two flaps that kind of complete an image, and I'm going to show you what I mean in a bit. So this is going to be my trifold card base, and when you fold it, it fits on an envelope. It is the standard US A2 card, and you just open it like so to read the message on the inside. Now for the flaps, let's make them fun so that they complement each other. For the first flap, you can really cut it out, chop it down, so that it creates kind of a flap but with an image. So here, for example, I'm using the crab die. I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine, and of course you need to unfold the card before you run it through. You don't want to cut out through the rest of the layers. At this stage you need to be a little bit creative, do some partial die cutting so you don't cut out completely the whole flap like I am doing here, and you can always use your scissors to chop off any excess. So here you can see that the first flap is just the crab. It doesn't matter, you cannot see inside what the message is. It is still a card covered completely with the card front because we have the second panel, and that's where we are going to create the background. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to cut out all the elements for the crab. I cut out everything from red cardstock, and now I'm going to do a little bit of inking at the base. So when I place this piece on top of the crab, you can see a darker color coming through the holes. Now putting the crab together is super easy. The pieces are really big and a small amount of them. So all you need to do is to just stick one on top of the other. The only tedious part, if that is a tedious part, is the eyes, but again the eyes are quite big, so they are really easy to handle. Now by sticking the crab on top of the flap, you see there are so many pieces one on top of the other. You are making that flap even more sturdy, so it's going to hold just nicely with no issues at all, nice and thick. Now, as I put together the crab, think about the dies that you may have and you can use as the front flap. It can be something simple as just a circle, just to create a flap on top of the second flap. And you can definitely use other dies that you can combine with lovely backgrounds. You will see how I will do the background later on, so that the image falls on top of the background. Now I'm putting together the eyes, and my front flap is ready, and I find it is super adorable, plus it's very sturdy after all those layers of the dies. So you can see how it works. And now let's create a background for the second flap so that it complements our main focal point. For that I'm going to go with a stencil, and I'm going to work on another separate panel, so if I make a mistake I don't ruin the whole card. Now this is a new stencil from the latest collection by Waffle Flower. It consists of all those 4 stencils, and it kind of creates a background full of shells, perfect for the season. Now I want to go for a monochromatic look and feel for my background, that's why I will not introduce many colors. I'm starting with the 3 stencils, and I'm just going to use the same color again and again on all 3 of them. You can definitely create a completely different look with these stencils, keep that in mind, but for this design, since I want the crab to be the focal point and really pop, I wanted a monochromatic look. So the 3 first stencils in this set give you different shapes of shells, so you can definitely recreate the same design with different colors. And the third one is giving you the starfish along with the details for the rest of the shells. So for this fourth stencil, I'm going to do some heat embossing. I will use my embossing ink and then apply white embossing powder. This is going to give me the starfish and all the details into white. Of course, before you do this step, make sure that your card base is completely dry from the previous inking by using the other stencils. Otherwise, the embossing powder is going to stick all over the place. And now that the panel is ready, all you need to do is to just cover the inside flap and your card is ready pretty much. All we need to do is to maybe add some finishing touches like gems, pearls or whatever, and of course you can add a sentiment. Now look how gorgeous it looks. I think it is a lovely surprise for any recipient. And I absolutely love the background in a monochromatic blue color. So anyway, let's add a sentiment now. I have this new sentiment that matches perfectly with the crab, and I'm going to stamp that on white cardstock with black ink, and I will use a matching die to cut it out. So Closum, yes you are, is my sentiment, and just because I was able to cut it out, I'm going to give it to the crab to hold it. So I think that this is a really clever way to add the sentiment. You can definitely stick it inside if you like, or on the second flap. So this is going to be nice and sturdy. If you back it up a couple of times, just cut out the same sentiment 2 or 3 times and stick one on top of the other just to make sure that it is nice and sturdy and holds its shape. I am going to do a last step just to finish it off. I'm inking up the edges with pigment white ink. I'm just using a brush by Waffle Flower. This is going to give me softer edges, but you need to be very careful as you do this step. Remember, pigment ink takes a while to dry and you don't want to make a mess, especially on your red crab. So that finishes the first card for today, and you can see some close-up photos now. Keep in mind that I do have a coupon code especially for my audience if you shop at Waffle Flower that you can find below in the description as well as on your screen right now. Now for the second card, let's use different dies, but again the same concept. Let's create a trifold card. I will be combining the waves along with the new lighthouse, and again I created the same construction for the trifold card, 2 A2 cards stuck inside each other. For this one I'm going for a very easy design, so here all I do is create a window on the first flap. And that window was a rectangle. You can definitely go with a circle, with a square, whatever shape you have, even a star. So now I'm going to use the lighthouse dies and I'm going to put together the lighthouse. I just cut out the base out of white cardstock. This is the light and I'm backing it with another piece of white just to make it sturdier. And then I'm going to put together a lighthouse. I just cut out the pieces with out of red cardstock and some out of golden cardstock. There are so many different ways that you can go for the lighthouse. It gives you all the pieces to put them together. I'm not even using half of them here. I believe there are even the in-between pieces that you can cut out from another color so that you can build everything on top of the lighthouse base. So here I'm just going to stick the door, then there is the roof. I even used my craft knife to cut out the inside window, and then you can stick the light, the ray on each side, on either side. Now the truth is that I'm going to change my mind. You will see that that ray is going to look on the other side at the finished card, but I just pulled it off and just stuck that on the other side. So anyway, let's create the waves now, and this is an amazing die. The result is just stunning. These are going to go on the second flap. You will see how I will put it together. For now, let's color that wave to bring it to life. I started with blue cardstock just to make inking easier. Now in the same product you do get the dies for the wave along with the stencil, and the stencil gives you 2 different areas that you can stencil on top of the wave. So for the first one area here I'm going with my mid color of blue. This is going to create a darker shade of what you see underneath, but again I started with blue cardstock just to make inking really quick and simple, plus it gives me a more vibrant result. And now for the second area I am using an even darker blue. Again I'm going to oversaturate it, and you will see when I lift it it's going to give me a gorgeous result. So here is how it looks. This part up here is a rock. You can definitely start with white cardstock, and there is a stencil area for that as well, so you can color it grey, or if it is land with greens and everything else, brown, whatever. But for this design I don't want to have that rock there, so I'm going to chop it off for now, and you will see how I will put together everything. In the same die with that wave, it gives you all the extra pieces that you can put together the foam on top. So of course I did cut out all these pieces out of white cardstock, and I'm just putting everything together, and you can see the finished look is just gorgeous. I absolutely love those blues and the white on top. And now it's finally to put together our trifold card. This is where I had to use that tray on the other side because I decided finally on the finished layout. I cut out the rock. Remember that rock that I chopped off? I cut it out from grey cardstock, and I'm going to place it at the front flap. On top of that goes my lighthouse. Now for the lighthouse I did add an extra cutout piece of white lighthouse at the back just to make sure that it's nice and sturdy, and then I'm just going to stick it on top. This way I create an interesting element at the front of my window, so that's my focal point right there, just like I did with the crab on the first card, and then all you have to do is to create a background for the second flap. Now here goes the wave. Then I have another piece that I cut out with these dies, again from the same cardstock and inking it up. This is going to be actually the extension of my sea. I want it to go all the way to the far bottom. And then I used again the same wave die, but this time I'm using the top part from this cardstock, and I'm placing everything together. So that was supposed to be the rock, but this is the same color as my sky. And then the sky goes on top of that. Now the design on that piece of rock is going to look kind of land far at the back. So I absolutely love how it came together, and of course I'm going to use my scissors to chop off the excess. Now here comes the part where we add the sentiment. You can definitely just add one sentiment at the front and you are good to go. I went with Oceans of Love, but for the inside I wanted to add something interesting, so I used the same stamp set that I used for the first card and cut it out by using the matching dies, and I'm going to stick it on the inside. So take a look at your dies in a completely different way to make the most out of them. Create windows and trifold cards. On the inside flap, just create a background. On the front flap, just add your focal point. It creates a scene that comes together when you close both flaps, and I think it makes stunning cards. As you can see, I finished the card with a little bit of splattering. I love white splatters. It's not for everyone, I know. You can totally omit that. But you can see I wasn't even happy by adding splattering on the inside flap. I just had to add that little touch on the front as well. So that was the second card for today. Here are some close-up photos where you can see the details better. Links to everything I used can be found down below. Don't forget your coupon code to shop the new release with 10% off. Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you had fun and that you got inspired.